Hello, and welcome to my tale of options, decisions, and actions that punctuate my passions, predilections, and profession. My name is Kaushik Sethuraman, and I'm a proud founding batch graduate of the ISP from the class of 2002. I find myself these days deliberating dialogues and dilemmas between technology, strategy, business, and social change within societies and countries. I lead program management for the social impact team at Facebook. My life has been all about three things: continuous learning, consistent doing, and with clear, confident conviction. Education is foundational and has always been fundamental to me, while experience has been the thrill of realizing my and the people around me's potential. That's a brief about myself. There were four definitive moments in my career that I'd like to really talk about. And for each one of those, I think I also have a summary in addition to you getting a sneak peek into the career transitions. So let's talk about the first one. So after I finished my undergraduate in computer engineering in Bangalore, I went to the United States to do my master's in computer engineering, and where I was amazed at the level and depth and intensity of working on distributed systems and so on. On one hand, we had this technology going at that particular pace, and then on the other hand, I saw that computing was still not very personal, was not very ubiquitous. And so I wondered and pondered about the need to kind of apply the technology into more companies, into more people, rather than getting deeper and deeper into doing a PhD in computer engineering. I think that was a very important definitive moment in my career when I specifically chose, consulting and the application of technology to people rather than actually digging deep into that. And so I'd like to kind of really summarize this as, spot the potential. That's kind of really important in terms of focusing when you are thinking about, careers or career journey. And usually these opportunities are bang stark in front of you. Yeah. Let's talk about the second moment. So I was already at Capgemini, having a wonderful, career path and career progression. Then came calling a prestigious firm like PricewaterhouseCoopers. The interesting thing is they were dealing in a very, very ambiguous space, and they were looking for people who they could actually position, some interesting and ambiguous work to. And that work was defining big data and data warehousing. Now you might say, wow, this is not something very, new, but it was 2 decades ago when there was absolutely no clue or idea about where the direction of technology was heading. So this is what, as I'd love to really summarize this as, always be watching out for where the ball is going to be, or where the puck is going to be in ice hockey parlance, rather than where it is right now. Because that kind of vision and envisioning is key, as you develop, your specific career or the path that you want to choose. Let's talk about defining moment number 3. Now, in this particular case, I would like to call to attention the work at the Indian School of Business and an MBA. So on day 0, I vividly recall, the exercise of saying, what is it that you want out of an MBA, and where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years? I wrote only a couple of lines where a lot of my, peers pondered a lot and wrote multiple paragraphs and pages. And my simple thing was, I want to spend time in technology companies working on strategy, which helped people. And I was able to articulate the type of companies that I want to work with. Clarity is key. Just as the London Business School professor who was kind of assisting us in this orientation day was telling me, and I stuck that very close to heart, and it has helped me and served me really well, as it might do to you. Bringing clarity and growing roots into a specific domain is very important. As you know, deep roots also helps trees weather some big and terrific storms. Let's talk about moment number 4. Here I am at a technology company like Microsoft. I worked on all these different programs and product teams at Microsoft, except the gaming division. I played different roles as a product strategist, product manager, as a program manager, and so on, kind of really enjoying the power and potential of application of technology to people and users. But suddenly, over the past few years, I started realizing that what is more important is performance, progression, promotion, And pay important or purpose? I quickly realized that it is purpose. That is a very important thing. What purpose that wants to drive intrinsically and motivate you is very, very key. So leaving behind the rhythm of a large company, the vast network of people that I knew there, and I was able to get things done. Even simple and interesting perks like window offices, or being on a fast track to a general manager position and so on. Just left it all behind because purpose trumped more importantly. And I joined Facebook as an individual contributor. And of course, I have done well at Facebook, and I am kind of leading teams and managing programs. But that ability to follow your heart, and it's okay to tell your mind to take a chill pill, is also important when you talk about career progressions. And it was for me as one of the moments where I see myself right now. What motivates me and keeps me going? Now, I already summarized a few things which were defining moments in my career, and those three things are still very important that I'd like to reiterate as the things that keeps me going. The first and most important one I would say is definitely take time to reflect every now and then about who you are, what you want to do, and where you want to be. Many times we all get sucked into the large scheme of things that we forget to take that time. And I think an education like the ISP was an important time for reflection as well. And I think that aspect of doing it consistently is very important. The second one I would say that keeps me going is always to be anticipatory, to always think about the long term, the long view. It could be in your career, it could be in terms of your growth, your learning opportunities. It could be where professionally, personally, that you want to go. So always be anticipatory. That really helps. And it's okay to be wrong, but it's always very heartening to be right when you think about it in that particular perspective. And the last one I want to reiterate is always find your purpose. I think one of the big learnings that I had that I would love to pass on is there is no specific time when you have to find your purpose. You can find your purpose at any time. So remember, it's always purpose over pay, promotion, and performance. Just think about what your purpose should be, whether you're trying to create a startup, whether you're trying to be in a particular role in a particular company, or even very simply, you have some specific objectives for yourself. So find the purpose. The three thoughts I want to leave you behind with respect to a career story is quite simple. Be bold, be caring, and be inclusive. No matter what we all do, no matter where we all are, I think these three things will be very important for us to kind of follow and emulate. By being bold, it seems a very simple statement, but it's not. Bold can be a lot of different things. It gives you the ability to make important decisions. It gives you the ability to kind of, make things happen, because without being that bold attributes that all of us have, sometimes we have to look very deep inside us in order to extract it. So I think that's really key. The caring part, I think the world can do with a lot of this particular attributes and qualities. We all seem to be like hyper competitive in many cases. We all seem to be like, focusing on, the specific objective. And in the meanwhile, we don't really care what we do with each other. And I think that part of caring is like really central, to that particular notion. And caring doesn't always have to be this very soft aspect. It can also be just the simple notion of active listening. It can be about empathy. It can be about bringing people along. All those things are what comes under that, which leads directly into being inclusive. Now, inclusive is not just a cliche term that is very popular today that I wanted to kind of make sure that you think about it. It can be even inclusive for yourself, right? Like many times when you're making decisions, when you're thinking about it, we tend to exclude a lot of things that may be uncomfortable to us and so on. So I'm saying be inclusive even to yourself. Of course, be inclusive with people around you. There are lots of people now with even more distinct personalities and archetypes. So definitely keep these three thoughts with you. Be bold, be caring, and be inclusive. Yeah, the mantra of career success. I don't for once claim that my career is successful. I would say that my career has been quite under my control and in a way that has been satisfying me. Now, if satisfaction is how you specifically define career successes, then you could say, yes, I've been successful. Now, a lot of people have different definitions of success. Some people might say that they want to be a millionaire, have a fantastic startup that is most popular around the world. Some people would say career growth and progression of being a vice president of a particular company is. That's great. You define what success needs to be for you. But in my case, a career success is doing things I love, doing things with the people that I think are fantastic, that I can learn from and that egg me and push me on, and doing things in a place that gives me the opportunity and ability to impact large number of common people, like people around the world, in a very significant way. Those were the three definitions of success for me. But how do you get there? So three things again, as they say, there are always three things when you come after business goal. So point number one is passion, professionalism, and the pursuit of perfection. Now that's been very important for me. Whatever I do, either it's out of intrinsic passion or I start developing a passion for it. And I do this in a very professional way. It would be amazing for you to know that in my long distinguished career, I have never used one word of profanity. You might think, what's the big deal about it? But I think it's a very big deal. I define my professionalism in a way that matters to me. Similarly, you might have your own principles, so bring that out. And for me, the last part was the pursuit of perfection. Now, I might not be perfect in the largest scheme of things, but every time that I do something, that I always wanted to make sure that it was the best ever quality work that I actually did. So that's like the first mantra. The second mantra, which goes into some of the things that I left behind with you, was to be kind, to be courteous, and to always make sure that you're a culture ambassador. Now, let me explain the last term a little bit. We all are a potpourri of, a potpourri of, cultures that are already brewing inside us. And we should be the stewards of who we are and in the type of places that we actually come into. Now, I can define my culture in very different ways. I can define my culture as being inclusive, being caring, and what have you. And so bring that into the fold. And it always helps in careers, because then people start identifying you as a unique, special brand. And as you are all very familiar, developing brands is an art and a science. And we each can be our own personal brands. So definitely do that. Be kind, courteous, and become a culture ambassadors. The last thing I would say, which has served me very well in terms of a career and success, is to never lose sight of building meaningful relationships and connections. It's not about networking for the sake of networking, but it's always about building meaningful connections. We are, after all, a social species. And without that connection, without that bond, without that relationship, pretty much nothing can happen. You could think about, anything that you want to dream of and do. You could be the smartest and the most, innovative person in the world. But without those connections, without that people, and without bringing people along, it's not going to really help. So again, to summarize, passion, professionalism, and the pursuit of perfection. Be kind, courteous, and make sure that you're a culture ambassador. And never lose sight of meaningful connections and relationships. So I hope that was very useful for you in terms of my career success and path. And I'd love to see how you take it forward and you define your own space and world. And love to see where that lands you.